Put your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game change.
Donuts.
If you want a battle, it's either that you will or you won't.
You know, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Gals.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Hey, man.
More Stories podcast number 200 and something. Paul Reiser spitting out his gum right now, and I told him I would vamp until his return. I
don't walk that fast either. I noticed
I'm a
that.
lollygagger. You are. I don't know if you're a lollygagger as much as you just sort of have a nice laconic pace. You're like the Vin Scully of walking.
Only Larry Miller makes me look speedy. Larry is a slow walker. But let's be honest. We're in a lovely office here, and as I was at my desk throwing out my gum so it's to not mess up your place, I had to walk back to you. How quickly do I need to walk, really? Where are you going?
You must be exhausted. You made that seem like you were taking the TED Tunnel from Logan Airport to Kowloon. Paul Reiser has stand-up dates July. Hey, listen, Chicago. You guys keep asking me, when are you coming to Chicago? And the answer is I'm not. I'm sending my representative.
Happy to represent the Mohr family.
Paul Reiser is playing Zanies July 5th and 6th in Rosemont, Illinois.
Actually, just the 5th. Just one night.
All right. Scratch that out.
That.
Might want to talk to your publicist about that.
No.
So the day after 4th of July, it's going to be tough.
Well, we'll see. You know, I've never quite figured out comedy club attendance rules. I remember when I just started, they always would say, you know, they would have a million excuses if it's empty, why is it empty tonight? Well, you know, it's raining and people don't come out in the rain. And then you come in next week and it's gorgeous. And I go, where is everybody? Well, you know, it's so nice people don't want to come indoors. So when exactly would your people show up?
Right.
So it's like July 4th. Well, that means everybody's going to be there or nobody. But it's July 5th, so they can have their thing and then come see a club. But that was the first club that I went to 2 years ago when I started. It was almost 2 years ago when I started doing stand-up again. And that was my first little out-of-town tryout. And it was a beautiful little club.
Zanies in Rosemont?
In Rosemont, which is famous for, it's next to the airport. It's very close. That's what it's famous for. And there's a lot of nice homes there. But you just go in and it's a real comedy club. It's packed and people are right in front of you. The stage is about the size of a quarter. So there's no fooling around. You're right there. You're right there. They're in your face. It is old school. I like it. You
July
can't run
5th,
away.
you're at Zanies in Chicago, but we'll call it Rosemont.
Rosemont, literally the mountain of the rose. There's no mountain, there's no rose. Otherwise, it's just. But there's Delta.
There's Delta,
and there's America.
I think you
it's
meant
United
Hub. And Cleveland at Hilarities, July 25th. Now, is it also the 26th?
That is 2 nights there.
That's what my notes say.
Yes, that is a lovely club. In Cleveland, the Hilarities includes a beautiful, looks like a theater. It's a nice, 500-seat club, which is for a club is nice size.
Yeah, that's big for a club, actually. And I canceled Cleveland 4 years ago, Paul.
Oh, I'll see what I can do.
And they kept saying, and they still, on Twitter, they'll bang away, you owe us a date. When are you coming back? I'm not.
Wow.
Again, I'm sending Paul Reiser in my steed.
And it's so neat, so nice.
You are my rep, a young Roman messenger. You're going by foot. You leave today.
You're a busy man. You have podcasts. You have radio shows. You can't be everywhere they want you. You're too popular.
I can.
Send me. I have nowhere to be.
You have nowhere to be.
Where am I going?
You're a happily married man.
You saw how quickly I came back from throwing out my gum across your office. I'm in no hurry. I'll go wherever they need me. Wherever comedy beckons. I'm like the Tom Joad of comedy.
Oh, but not the ghost of Tom Joad. The real
the actual, when he was healthy and gaunt.
Young spry Tom Joad, the pentathlete.
Yes.
Still happily married?
Yeah, why? What did you hear?
A ring, so you freaked me out.
I don't wear a ring.
I said happily married, and I went, oh no, we're going to have to edit quickly.
Well, you say happily. I mean, I wouldn't say every day is roses. But yes, happily married to a wonderful woman. And I don't wear a ring because a couple of years ago, it just started, my fingers swelled or whatever. And I had a choice. I could either eat less salt, buy a new ring, or just not wear one. And I said, honey, you know we're married, right? Also, I found Who am I proving it to? And I do a show and a book and everything. My life is about being married, so it's not a mystery. So I don't really need that to be tagged in the wild.
Don't you think being tagged with a date on it and the whole? Don't you?
I remember my anniversary, but also I couldn't get the ring off anymore. So to check I had the date inscribed, so I would remember. But I remember pretty good. Also, I don't know if you found this, but it really cut down the number of women you meet on the road. And I find that I joke, I kid. No, but I stopped wearing a ring. I never thought about it twice. My father never wore a ring, happily married for 48 years or whatever it was. But no, I don't wear one, but it's an interesting thing. Because
your wife doesn't care? Your wife doesn't say,
no.
I would like it more?
No. My wife is an interesting piece of work in that some things that nobody else cares about are wildly important to her. And other things that are, that are like sort of the cliches that everybody you would think care about mean nothing to her. Like Valentine's Day. It's like, yeah, no, come on, don't even insult me. That means nothing.
Really?
Yeah. Like, because you just think like it's just.
And what's something that means a lot to your wife? My wife is.
Oh, very, very small personal things like, all right, like we're leaving a restaurant and they have by the register, and they have the thing with the cards and the toothpicks. And I'll grab a toothpick and I'll grab one and not two. And she go, well, how would you not grab two? I go, well, I didn't. The reason I grabbed one was, I had something in my tooth. I didn't suddenly go, perhaps others have things. So it's a really small thing, but now it's become a running joke because we're together 30 years. And you go, really? You still don't really think I go, I just know.
But what is the second one for her?
Oh, yes. No.
I don't know.
As opposed to my teeth were so chock full of lettuce.
Top jaw, bottom jaw?
No. Basically,
save it for later, next meal?
No, it was just a most modest of considerations of perhaps you would like one too. You're doing one for yourself, perhaps think of me. And I go, well, I think of you all the time, but just, for instance, if I scratch my back, I don't think, perhaps you have an itch on your back too. I'm just taking it's an instant thing. So I can argue this, by the way, but there's no fruit in, there's no sport in arguing because you ask me what is important. Little tiny things like that. And again, I'm not a stupid man, really. So you would think over the course of 30 years, I would begin to understand and adjust. And in many ways I have, but often the toothpick I'll forget.
Well, I like that you've adjusted the approach and the landing. You still do the same thing, but you twist it now into comedy instead of being like, now you do it on purpose because it's just kind of funny.
I don't know that I do it on purpose, but there's a part as you get a little older and as you start to still want to make yourself the best person you can be, but
don't drag me into this.
Not you, others. But I tend to begin to accept certain limitations and go, boy, I'm just not getting really good at this particular thing. And you try and find the comedy out of it. And comics, by the way, are all very grateful that comedy exists because without it, we'd be, out of work and on top of school buildings, throwing things at people.
Bell towers, throwing our own scat.
Exactly.
At passerbys.
Scat.
Mad About You ran for 6 years, 7 years?
7 years.
Wow. That is a long run. Especially when there's two people, you and Helen Hunt, who I worked with on Pay It Forward, and we got along great. I thought she was fantastic. But like when you go to work every day, and like that's a testament to that's
we loved
really.
It. We loved doing it. It was always fun. It wasn't always easy, and any job there are days that you go, that are more fun and days that are tougher. But it's a lot easier when you really believe in the product, So we were really through the end, from the very beginning to the very end, always really intensely proud of and of the show and conscious of what we wanted it to be. So to the best we could, we never tried to take the easy way out or do listen, every year you do 22 shows. And some will be memorable and fantastic, and a couple will fall short, and the bulk are in the middle. I remember Larry Gelbart, when I just started Mad About You, I met Larry Gelbart at some function, and he, of course, among many other credits, created MASH and did, 15,000 episodes, whatever it was. I said, how do you do it? And he said, he laid out that formula. He said, every year, think of them as your children. Every episode is a child, and not all your children will be pretty. And he goes, and you're always going to swing for the fences, but you're not going to always hit it out of the park. He goes, and the proportions will always be, out of, say, 22, 3 will be memorable, that you'll be proud of, put those in the vault. 3, you'll go, yeah, that one got away from me. And the vast bulk will be 240 hitters, 270 hitters, maybe.
B minus students.
Yeah. You go, you know what? It's not that they didn't do the homework. They just didn't crackle.
My wife's all-time favorite show.
Is that right?
Yeah, and she laid it out for me. She said it was the first show that she saw. Every sitcom in the world is like, oh, she's driving me nuts with the wife and the thing and the going to his buddies like, my wife, and yeah, it's making me great. Right. And it was the first show, and in my memory, the first, I'm sure there was others, but the first one that worked and was in syndication, where it wasn't husband and wife against each other, it was husband and wife against the world.
Right.
And I thought that was a really neat
thing.
Yeah,
that was a very conscious
and
thing.
The line that my wife remembers to this day, and she said, make sure you say this to Paul, was there was something like Helen Hunt wasn't getting along with a lot of people in one episode, and you guys were sitting on the bathroom floor, and she was crying. She says, why don't these people like me? And you said, you're asking the wrong guy. And my wife said, and I thought, yeah, you're right. It's always husband and wife against one another. And if I ever did a show with my wife, like we've, batted ideas around, we always would want it to be like that, husband and wife.
Nice to hear. Yeah, that was. There certainly was a well-worn precedent for to the moon, Alice, and husband against wife. But from the inception, the idea of Mad About You was always, this is really hard. It's really worth it, but it ain't going to be easy. And the way you move forward is every time you hit a sticky point, you try and have the big picture in mind, and you take the higher road, and like you don't take the cheap shot, and you just this is the easy thing is like, well, I really don't like what she said, I'm going to move out and get my own apartment. Yeah, okay, you can do that, but then you're quitting.
Let's have an episode with Deacon Jones. Let's have Deacon Jones come in and throw the ball around with Paul in the backyard.
There you go. There's
always that one episode that you just burn. You just do something absolutely ridiculous, like when Gilligan's Island had the mosquitoes come and visit instead of the Beatles, they had the mosquitoes.
Wow.
It's just
I don't know. Did we ever?
The Flintstones copied that and did the Way Outs.
Did we ever? I don't know.
We
must have. I'm sure. I can't remember the joke. I don't know that we ever did.
That's one of your ugly children that you don't really.
Well,
talk to
well,
anymore.
but the ones that we did would never. There were certain ones that I still cringe at, and I go, but they're usually like, whoa, I remember how hard that week was, and I'll see a rerun. I'll go, and it'll bring me right back to, we never cracked that scene or something. But it was never for lack of trying. It was never like we never phoned it in, and sometimes the idea is inspired and. Sometimes you get 3/4 way in and you just, we never got the ending or we never got that scene.
And you try to rewrite it on the fly. It's amazing. You get a month of lead. A guy wrote it a year ago. And like in between takes, they're like, let's fix it now.
I remember, it's funny, we always used to joke, well, our motto is that it's a show about the little things. It's the little small things between a husband and wife. It's, like that moment in the bathroom, whatever. There's small things. So that was our mantra. It's the little things. It's the little things. And one of our favorite episodes, it was early. I think it was might have been the first season or second season, maybe. I don't know. So it was in there. Was this very broad concept episode where we invest in a virtual reality machine, and Christy Brinkley was a guest star. And the thing was, I go and do this, put on this virtual reality mask, and I invested money, and I didn't check with her. So that was the issue. I didn't check with her, and I said, but it's the greatest thing. So you got to go. You could do anything. You could ski. You could jump. You could sing in the opera. You could put yourself in anything. And she started to warm up. She goes, well, I guess that sounds cool. What did you do? I said, I got a massage from Christy Brinkley. But the point is, honey, and then it became, so the joke was amongst ourselves, like, we claim to be about the little things, and here we have this huge thing where we're having super, virtual reality thing. But in fact, the best part of the show was not the high concept part, but it was the argument afterwards where we're in bed. The two of us, and the husband trying to explain to his wife, why he made a financial decision without her input and why he elected to do what he did. So, that we always used to, that was our thing. No matter where we go, if the story is broad, we just come back to the little things so that Jay's wife can be happy.
She's very happy. You don't need the money. Why are you doing stand up again? Or did you never
get out of the house, Jay? I can't take it. I cannot be in this house. Happily married, but you know what? It's funny. I did not have any plan about getting back on the road, but I'm having such a great time. I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to get back to. I was never one of these guys that, hey, I'll just do stand up till I'm discovered and then I'll never have to go back. I wasn't that guy. I always loved stand up. Just that's what I wanted to do. And I was really lucky that I got to work and create my own show and all that. And so in the back of my head, though, I was like, I'm going to get back. I'm going to get back. I love doing it. And it just took a long time. It was really, I stopped doing it in 92 when Mad About You started. And then I didn't do it when the show was on because it was just too much for me. And then when the show was over, I was happy to take it easy and be home and be with my kids. And suddenly, you don't do something, you need a bigger and bigger excuse to actually reverse the tide and do it. And I don't know, one day I hosted some charity thing, and those were the only times I would periodically do stand-up. I was host something, and I just did a thing one night. It was really fun, and it was just they were honoring somebody who was a friend of mine, and so I was getting to poke fun, and the audience was really laughing, and I was having a great time. It was improvising, and I got off stage, and I said to my wife, I said, what am I, nuts? This is great. Why aren't I doing this? So I literally just called up the club out here in Hermosa Beach, and I said, can I come down and try stuff? And it was really interesting.
Let me see some of your stuff, kid.
Well, this is how I knew it had been a while and I had gotten older. Is because the first thing they said, yeah, come on down anytime you want. The show starts at 10. And I said, at night? No. 10 o'clock at night is not some. I don't really do that anymore. But I went down and there were on the show would be all these younger guys, or some not this, yeah, mostly younger, and some really young guys who were really good. I had not seen because I missed a couple of generations. I just hadn't been in the clubs. And some of them had been out on TV and some of them not. But they would see me and they go, wow, gee, what are you doing down here? You're working on a special? And I'd say, no. Well, you're working on a Tonight Show spot or something? I said, no. And they well, we don't understand. Why are you here? I went, I'm just want to do this. And so there wasn't a thought at all. Even I wasn't even thinking about, gee, in a year or two, I want to get on the road or something. I just was really it's like Woody Allen playing the clarinet. Well, you would love doing that. Go do it. And you do it. And he's not trying to be famous with it. He's not. So I just wanted to do it. And then after about a year, I sort of just kept throwing these goals at myself. I said, well, let me see if I can get an hour of material. Let me see if I can get an hour and a half. Let me see. All right, now let me go on the road. And, when I say go on the road, it's very easy. I mean, I'm not doing touring like guys with a bus with the back of the shirt has 47 cities in a row. I have here and there. I go.
Always starts in Florida.
Always starts in Florida. Yeah.
Every tour shirt starts. Every rock and roll tour shirt.
Yeah, you got to break it in somewhere.
I don't know why. Always kicks off in Florida.
I would like to someday have the shirt that has packed all the way Syracuse to Florida to Omaha.
All the shows start at 6 p.m.
Yes.
After a nice 4 p.m. meal, little nap, walk off. Then you have to walk off the meal. That's a big one as you get older, right? Walk off the meal.
I've done a couple of times. There have been shows that are earlier, and when it's still light out, and there's something really wrong.
Yes.
It's called a nightclub for a reason. You don't want daytime comedy is a day club. It doesn't work.
I did a show. Where was it? It was Appleton, Wisconsin, and the sun set. There was windows, very high floor to ceiling windows, and it was in like a paper mill factory, and they made it a showroom. And the Saturday shows, start at 7 o'clock, and the sun's going down in Appleton, Wisconsin, and there's a spotlight, and right next to the spotlight is like the sun, the capital T, the spotlight. For a universe.
And the spotlight's going, this guy's good. I can't shine like this guy.
And it was exactly that. It's really,
and the audience doesn't know it. They don't realize that they're not laughing because nothing is that funny in the daytime.
And you're right. When you're on stage, it's very disconcerting. It's like, this because you do so much acting. It's like the first time you really start shooting nights and you put together like 3 weeks of shooting nights, like right around 4 a.m. I would get like anxiety. Like this isn't normal. And then you're driving home and everyone's getting up and going in the other direction.
You're going, you're the
and then
opposite
you're at home
normal.
you're at home at 8 o'clock, like in the morning, like, boy, I better get my night's sleep. It's very weird. However, this, when you work nights, you actually get to get things done because you will eventually wake up at like 3 p.m. You can go to the market and do all those things.
Yes, you can do things. Yes.
If you're doing a show or a movie, like the set of Diner, for example, if you have a 7 a.m. call and you wrap at 7 p.m., you're not picking up any prescriptions. You're not going to get any kid at school. No. You're not going grocery shopping. You just go home, watch TV, learn your lines for the next day, and call it a day. And you work with Mickey Rourke before the big comeback. Back when everybody was up and running on Diner. It was like, I don't think people realize there used to be movies with words. and
funny.
great discussions amongst friends and
No,
emotions.
there's plenty of movies like that, but it's
All right. Thanks for
it's
leaving me out to
interesting.
dry on that one, Paul.
No. I just don't want. I don't want to piss on everybody.
I don't want to upset the Academy, JJ.
I'd rather insult you than all the generic people that I don't know. Anonymous people is what I meant to say.
How many explosions in Diner?
Well, there was nothing exploded.
See?
Yes, no. Listen, I'll go back. You know what? When you edit this, take out the part where I corrected Jay.
No, it's fine.
I don't leave that there. What do I care?
Leave it there to cattle.
Yeah, it's been funny to see over the years that Diner has been such an influential movie and impactful, and some say influential to other filmmakers, in that it was sort of the first of a breed in that it really relied solely on that kind of camaraderie, male camaraderie and trivia and chat. You know, there was no story. There was no story to get back to. It's interesting. Barry Levinson is working on a theatrical version. There's a Broadway musical.
Are you available?
Yeah, I play Grandpa now. Sheryl Crow's doing the music, and I thought, well, wait a second. How do you do that? By design, there was no story.
If you're not going to finish that, I'll eat it, but only if you're not going to finish what you're eating. I'm just saying.
There's a good song.
Trying to work in a little dialogue. It's hard. It's hard to, I guess it is as hard as you just said.
Yeah, well,
I'm just saying, if you're not going to finish.
Jump in.
I can't even do your lines.
I'll get a ride with you. I'll get a ride with the other
I'm just
guy.
saying, if you're going that way, I don't know why I made your character gay all of a sudden. I'm just saying, if you're going that way, I'll go a ride with you.
See it. Diner, the musical.
Go see Paul Reiser, Zanies, Rosemont, Illinois, July 5th. You guys better get in there and see my friend, also July 25th, July 26th. Hilarities in Cleveland. Now, we talked about Diner. I think there's a stigma with comics. Billy Crystal being a perfect example. Robin Williams, a perfect example. Yourself. I think there's a weird glass ceiling with comics as far as like the respect you could ever get as an actor. Like you see Robin Williams in Awakenings. If that was a guy that's never done stand-up comedy, he'd be just, a great actor. But it's all, I don't know, like Billy Crystal, every time he turns in like a great heartbreaking performance like Mr. Saturday Night or something like that. I mean, you were an alien, for crying out loud. Nobody talks about it.
I don't know. There is something about that. And I wonder if it's part of what makes comics effective is that they sort of ingratiate themselves. You know, they put you at ease, and they become close to you, so and you become close to them. People warm up, and maybe that's a different vibe than when you watch De Niro and Pacino. It's like they're brilliant and they're wonderful, but you don't watch them and feel like you're friends with them. And it's sort of like once you're friends with somebody, go, well, yeah, I'm like, even if you're friends with Springsteen,
Are you going to finish that?
You know what I mean? If you're friends with Springsteen, you're probably going to go, he ain't that great. He's just a guy, I knew him as a kid. Come on.
He's Bruce.
Yeah. So once you know somebody, and I think comics, if there's any validity to this theory of yours at all, then that's what I offer. If it's not, then I'm wrong.
No, I think that's very much the case. But do you agree? I won't ask you to talk about yourself and your own acting career, but I do. It's a weird. I'm certainly not including myself. I think comics. Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, I guess would be the two. Who's a comic?
You know what?
Billy Connolly. Nobody. I mean, Billy Connolly is a walking Oscar. Whenever he wants, I'm sure he could hand in an Oscar-worthy performance.
Yeah.
And I don't mean comedy. I mean like a heartbreaking. Yeah. Robin, obviously, we saw it with.
Go back to Andy Griffith. You know, he was well, I don't know, Cosby.
He wasn't a stand-up.
Andy Griffith was a stand-up.
He was, really?
Andy Griffith was a stand-up.
Oh,
I don't know which came first, but I mean,
chicken.
There were some old records. Now it's possibly he was an actor and then he went and started doing that, but I'm pretty sure he did stand-up first. And he was, more in that southern. It was much more. They were the pieces that I've heard were all long set pieces about, almost like Newhart's pieces, like the invention of this thing of football. Andy Griffith did it. And they're terrific and they're funny, but they're sort of set pieces. It's not like they're not joke telling. But he was up there on a stage being this really friendly guy, and then and he was also terrific facing the crowd.
Yeah, that's when I was a kid and I started stand-up comedy. I don't know why, but at like 16 years old, my father used to say, "Have you ever seen Facing the Crowd?"
Is that right?
And he's like obsessively.
I remember loving it, and I got to it very late. It was like 10 years ago, but I've been wanting to watch it again. It's funny that my kids are teenagers, and there are holes in their knowledge of films, and I go, you got to see this, and you got to see that. they were doing a sort of a mock trial in school. My younger guys in 8th grade. I said, well, you got to see 12 Angry Men. He goes, that with Tom Cruise? I said, no, that's A Few Good Men. This is like 9 more. This is 12. And they're not good. They're angry. He goes, oh, okay. And I said, you're going to love it. It's great. And he's now beginning to like not need things blowing up for a movie to be good. And A Few Good Men is fantastic, but it's challenging. It's black and white. And it's
12 Angry Men. You mean.
What I just said. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men. It's black and white in one room. And it's really following this very sophisticated, story of sophisticated in the sense of like it's subtle. He lasted 40 seconds and was sound asleep. I said, okay.
Really?
Yeah. I said, okay, we got to start.
High on the pot.
It could have been. I said, we got to start watching this more at like 12 noon. I said, I think 8 o'clock at night is a little tough. But why did I even bring that up? I don't know why I brought that up.
Movies used to have
movies that have words. Exactly
emotions.
what you said.
And 12 Angry Men. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then Paul Reiser is going to tell you a story about finding a dead goat on a beach. Hold on 1 second. Listen to this.
When shopping for car insurance, consider this. Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. So if you're serious about savings, it's simple. Go to geico.com. After 75 years, they know how to save you money.
Geico presents Fan Mail to a Pig.
Dear Maxwell, first off, hope you are well. And I am. Seems like all you do is promote Geico's web and app abilities. And while I really enjoyed your last commercial where you talked about how I could take a photo of my VIN number and add it to my account all via my Geico app, I've got to think it doesn't leave you much time for anything else. Do tell. Sincerely, Miranda Morgan. Well, Miranda, thank you for asking. And this Geico spokespig does have time to do other things. For instance, I do a lot of
VIN scanning to add a car, just a tap away on the Geico app.
Once in a while, a breakthrough product comes along and changes the way we live. If you want to help keep your skin looking younger, you need to know about HelioCare. The sun can do some pretty terrible things to your skin. Sun damage can happen even on cloudy or overcast days. Just walking to the mailbox or driving every day can add up to older-looking skin. HelioCare is a daily-use dietary supplement. It contains PLE, which you may have heard about on TV, and you take it just like a multivitamin. Then HelioCare's antioxidant formula helps your skin protect itself year-round. That's why thousands of dermatologists have requested samples of HelioCare for their patients. That should tell you something right there. If you ever worried about sun damage, if your family has a history of sun-related skin problems, you need to start taking HelioCare. Buy a 2-month supply of HelioCare at Walgreens and Rite Aid. In the vitamin aisle, look for the yellow and black box, HelioCare.com. So when you're shooting Alien, do you know... Aliens?
The second one. The first one was Alien.
So you were not an alien?
I was not an alien. I was an aliens.
There are more aliens, so you need double the laughs.
You need more people. Yes.
More laughs.
We need a comic.
So all right. So then obviously you already knew it was a huge monster franchise. So that's got to be nuts in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of those things where you just go, all right, this is not a risk. It's not a risk for me. It's a risk for, Jim Cameron. He had already done Terminator, so knew this guy was pretty darn good. And the script was fantastic to Aliens. It was one of those.
How can the script be? That's interesting to me.
I'm telling you, it's like you read it, and it reads like you're out of breath. You're like nervous. He writes in such a way, like some of them were sort of like just haikus and just.
James Cameron wrote Aliens too.
Yeah,
yeah.
So he directed his own script. So there would be things like blood, metal on metal. It's like little just images that just to throw at you that you can get almost like comic book style.
Yeah.
But with just words, obviously. And you knew it was, and I couldn't quite visualize all the things he had in his mind, the weaponry and the stuff. I was in Calgary. Interesting.
Yucks.
Yes.
This will be out after your.
No. I was in Calgary a couple months ago. There was a Comic-Con, but it was a science fiction thing, and there was a 30th reunion of the cast of Aliens. So we hadn't been together in all that time, and it was amazing to me to see. I never quite got how big this picture is to
nerds,
to a lot of people. I mean, there are people who guys say, "Oh, I watch it every Saturday morning for the last 30 years."
Make you laugh,
30.
And then I feel bad for saying it because you just completely steamrolled right over me. Like I thought the timing. I was like, if anybody would, Paul's like right in my wheelhouse.
I don't want. I went for the bigger group. I didn't want to insult anyone.
You're fine.
But someone was pointing out
So disappointed.
Oh, we've heard
one of
Jay.
my comedy heroes just goes, yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying, Jay. Yeah, let me finish.
Why?
These people, the greater
like-
good of the science fiction community.
Why
What
don't
the
these-
fuck
why
are you
don't
running
these
for?
people like
Jesus
me?
Christ!
I walked slowly across the room, but I talked fast over your joke. You see what
No,
happened?
you didn't talk over it. It was great. It was just you just refused to say yes, nerds. It was like, no, the science fiction community, very passionate, potential future ticket
What a
buyers.
sensitive
dummy, JJ.
young lad you are.
I pointed the finger at myself first. I pulled the plug on myself. What a jerk I was. So all of you, was it all? There's no way Sigourney Weaver hooked it up to
Sigourney
Calgary.
Weaver was there.
Really?
They made it worth
6
the walk.
foot?
Easily. And can shoot from her left or from her right. She can go. Yeah, she looks lovely.
High motor,
she's great.
high motor gal.
She is. She is. Everybody. Yeah, there were one or two people who were British actors who didn't make it over, and the little girl from Aliens named Carrie Henn, who was like 9 in the film. She's 40 something now.
Wow.
And she's a teacher here in California. And it's very funny because she said, I don't think she ever did another piece of acting, but. She'd be in class and people, or suddenly a kid in her 3rd grade class would say, "You were in this movie." Yeah, that was me. It's like, what doesn't make sense? Why you just, I did one and then I never did another thing. And then she became a regular person.
That's the life, huh?
Yeah.
What is it? Why do we envy just civilians?
Somebody-
Like you see like a checkout lady at like Forever 21. You're like, wow, what an amazing life this must be. You just ring up items and people leave.
Well, there's an outsider's thing. Like whenever I go to another city, and certainly to another country, it all looks great. And you watch, you go to Paris and you go, wow, can you imagine being a bus driver? It's like, well, wouldn't that be great every day? And people come on with their French accents, and they got their bread, and he's just in France. I mean, it's a big treat. He gets this big treat every day. But of course, to him, he's going, I got to get out of this. I got to go to this job. I got to get out of this city.
I've always wanted to see Boston.
Yeah, I got to see Boston in the hot sweltering afternoon. But yeah, so comics, you always envy what you don't have, and you're like, wow, this person has a nice, normal job.
Yeah, I see guys like loading up a truck after like a day of masonry. I'm like, wow, that guy made a wall.
See, but
I know what it is. I just figured it out.
Go ahead.
There's something to show.
Yes.
For what you've done.
And
what we do disappears into the ether. It's gone.
It vaporizes, evaporates, it's gone. And also, it's quantitative. It's like that brick, okay, I got to put them 15 high, and then I got to go all the way from this corner to that corner. And you can see the progress. It's tangible. Not only it's something to show, but you can see, I thought... I was trying to do a bit about it, but I haven't found it. Hasn't been that funny. But when you so it's not a bit. Now it's a pithy point that I make. But like when you're downloading a thing and the little progress bar and it tells you 22%, 23%. So I was doing this bit about how hypnotic that is, and I can't look away. I'll watch that till it's done.
Sometimes
or
you
I
think
die.
It moves.
Yes,
when it has not moved.
No, right, and it has a little wiggle. It's like what's happening? But I realized maybe it's wiggling a little bit, so it's working. It's obviously struggling to get to 46.
Loading.
And why is this so? Why can't I look away from this? And I thought it's one of the rare moments in life where they tell you exactly where you are. Here's how much you have done. Here's what remains. You don't have that in life. You don't know. You could die tomorrow. You could die in 40, 50 years. Don't you think
that bit's completed? Just how you just said it.
Judging from the laugh in here, no.
If human beings just walked around with that blue bar above their heads, you'd be like, I better be nice to that guy.
That's the way to go with it.
He's at 99.
Yeah,
go help him across the street.
I'm going to go. That's the way to go.
What?
Justin Timberlake, right? They made a movie with him with the
Oh,
time.
with the time code.
Oh, yeah. Arm thing.
That's a little more high sci-fi concept. I think what Paul's doing.
The little bit that I came up with, and it's a sad little offering.
I remember that.
But I said it'd be nice if in life we had that kind of warning. So somebody's telling you a long, boring story, and you're thinking, gee, is this guy ever going to finish? And bing, 82% complete. All right, so now I know there is hope inside.
You would also go, if the guy's telling a long, boring story, I'm not telling Paul Reiser out of the comedy for crying out loud.
No, go ahead, give me. Tell me.
You just go, the guy's going in the story, and you just point above your head. You go like, I'm at 88.
Oh, I like that even better.
I don't have that much
He's 80.
time.
I'm almost done. I'm 82. Yeah,
I'm at 88.
I'm done.
I don't know if you realize, but I walked in here at 88, and now I'm at 80. I don't want to leave here at 89 because of your story.
Yeah, I don't have room for what you got to offer.
Yeah,
see, that's funny.
I'm getting full.
So right away, right off the bat, this has not been a waste.
No, not at all. You're going to have a full house at Zany's in Rosemont, Illinois, July 5th.
Never mind.
Day after 4th of July.
Perhaps a new direction on a bit.
July 25th, July 26th, Hilarities in Cleveland. Paul Reiser, the man that brought you classic classic bits like, did you call the guy? They and the guy. One of the all-time great. If I had a Hall of Fame, which I do, obviously, for comedy, for bits, I've a Hall of Fame for comics, Hall of Fame for bits, Hall of Fame for phrases.
That joke will be hanging in the closet?
It's they, absolutely. First ballot Hall of Famer. Did you call the guy? And you know what they say. Who's they? Who's the guy? Well, did you call the guy? Well, you know what they say. Like you going around and around. And now, I bet you right now, Paul Reiser, 40% of my listeners went, oh my God, I didn't even realize that was Paul Reiser.
And by the way, that includes me, because I'm going, right, it's all coming
How
back
does it
now.
go
That was
again?
a good, how does it go? Yeah, it sounds good. There was the guy, like, who is, are you sure this guy is good? Well, that's what they say. And there was some little capper, like, the guy is president of they. What was that?
I don't
We'll
remember
finish it up. There was a little piece in there.
I think the guy points to the bar above his head and said, I only have it. So what's amazing to me is the way you just explained your comedy earlier in the podcast was you took a decade off, and then maybe once a year you would do a benefit and do 10, 15, 20 minutes and go, hey, that was a lot of fun. Because when I saw you was at a benefit,
I was already starting back up again.
Because you destroyed. Like, it was insane.
That's very nice.
Matty Boy was there. You walked out on stage, and it's like, and first of all, for me, being a comedy geek and growing up a comedy, waned on the comedy teat, and not knowing I'd become the cow at one point, just going like, oh my God, like I can't like wait to see Paul.
Wow.
And you went out, and you essentially told one story after the pleasantries. And it was just you and your wife walking on the beach, and obviously it had really happened.
Yes.
It was like the most natural way.
Everything has happened. I'm not smart enough to make anything up, so I have to actually tell what happens. And if I bend the truth a little bit. But no, that was I think I had been just a couple of months back doing it again. But it was weird. And there's such a difference. There's such a difference when you go, if you're emceeing something, they're not paying to see you, and you don't have to really perform. You just have to lighten the mood, and then bring up the mayor. You know what I bring up? And now here's the reason the guy's going to explain why this is a wonderful,
I didn't wait that long for Obamacare. You guys ready to get going?
There you go.
It's the one.
And then you just get off. Yeah. And it's a very different thing when, I want to try and be up here for 15 minutes. I don't know. Did you ever take a big chunk of time off?
I was off for 2 years. I was having panic attacks on stage.
Really?
Out of nowhere. And then my wife told me, why don't you just stop? And I was working on I was on Ghost Whisperer, so I had a check. So I wasn't doing it for the money, and I could afford to stop. And then she told me, but I know why it was. If you want a truncated version, I can very quickly. I used to behave not particularly like a nice human being.
Yeah.
I was venal, and I was an infidel, and I drank a lot, and I was mean, and I was very unhappy.
And you thought that came with
no? And
standard?
then when I met my wife, it was just like a lazy Susan. Like my life, it just rotated to Technicolor from black and white to happy, but. To make a living, it was like a snake that shed its skin, but to go on stage, I had to go get all that skin and put it on me, and then do like a phony. I was a phony. And then my wife said, why don't you just stop? And then when you go back on stage, you'll just tell stories. You'll just tell the truth. And then, like George Carlin used to say, it was very easy to do my old bit because there was so little of me in it. And now you go on stage and you just tell things that actually that you actually happened.
Yeah.
And you can exaggerate the numbers and you can fudge the dimensions. Unlike the bricklayer that we mentioned earlier, a comic, we can't go, all right, that's good. That's about 18 minutes. Let's all come back tomorrow night and I'll finish this up. Like, we have to build that wall in that hour now allotted. So
it's entirely elusive.
I did quit for a long time, for 2 years.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing. And I had been, it was more like 20 years that I hadn't really gone out and done a whole show. And I would dig up old video cassettes. I said, what did I do? And I knew I wasn't going to do my old act, but I just really hadn't seen it. I wanted to start. That was one of the reasons I kept waiting too, is I wanted to start from scratch. I didn't want to dust off the old act, but I would throw in a tape and see me somewhere doing, an hour 10, and I went, oh my God, how did I do that? That seems inconceivable.
A little bit of a mullet.
Huh?
A little bit of a mullet. Right now, I will say this for the listener.
Yeah.
Paul Reiser, very handsome, going gray very gracefully, and I will oddly, has anybody told you look like Joe Montana?
All the time.
Are you being serious?
In the Bay Area, a little more.
You look, doesn't he look like Montana?
Less now. I used to when he was playing.
Too,
I used to get it, And
not back in the day with the curly mullet.
No,
right now with the tight
there
gray
was a
hair.
period that I looked like.
But you look like Joe Montana now, is what I'm saying. You both.
I haven't seen him. I haven't seen.
You don't look like Joe Montana, number 16, 49ers.
No. And for a while, I thought they meant Joe Montana, which I thought was actually a stretch.
Yeah,
I don't,
no, you don't.
Joe Montana. Yeah, I do kind of.
Joe Montana.
I have gotten that.
Please tell the story about you and your wife walking on the beach.
The goat story. It's such a long story.
So what?
I can give you the pieces of it. But the
fuck you, Paul Reiser. The moment your name came across my laptop for potentially being on this podcast, I said, "Oh my gosh, if these listeners could hear this goddamn goat story."
Oh, you've teed it up. I'll try. Well, let me just say this. But you still must come to see me when I come to your town to hear the full version with the full facial expressions, which you don't really get on the podcast. But the story was, and
you didn't show them the hidden cameras.
The story, and it teeters on the fact of the premise was things can be wonderful in your marriage, and you don't know what the universe, and out of nowhere, something will come out of to just mess it up and challenge you. And my wife and I had an experience where we were walking on the beach in L.A. here, and it was a golden day, and everything was perfect. We were in love, and we were walking, we were holding hands, and life was good. And we came upon a goat, a dead goat on a beach, which is a surprise because they don't generally
sunbathe.
Yeah, they don't sunbathe. They're not big on boogie boarding, and they're not in the area. So and it was definitely an anomaly, but I wasn't. My wife was thrown. I said, well, she said, wow, there's a goat, and I said, yes, I confirmed. I said, wow, that is weird. Yes, it is, sweetie. That's weird. That there's a dead goat. Come on, let's keep walking. And that was my mistake right there. The suggestion to walk because she wasn't done processing the mystery of the goat. She said, hang on a second. Where would a goat come from? I said, I don't know. Maybe it washed up. She said, but from where? Where would it wash up from? Because there's nothing out there but Japan. It's a long way for a goat to. I said, I don't know. Maybe it fell off a boat. Would that be possible? Is it possible that it fell off a boat?
Goat boat.
Goat boat. She said, a boat? Have you ever seen a boat go by with goats on it? I said, no. When you say it back to me, I can hear the foolishness. And I had no idea. And finally, I said, well, I was coming up with every reason. And it built and built, and she was most upset. Not at the goat. We saw it. I said, "Can we just keep walking, please? It's such a beautiful day." So we walked, but the love was gone, the joy was gone, and the further we walked, the more she was upset. It's like with the toothpick. She was not upset at the goat anymore. She was just upset that I didn't share her a particular upset. She goes, "How are you not upset about the goat?" I went, well, I am upset. I'm curious. I wouldn't say I'm upset. I'm curious, but we're never going to know. And it escalated to the point of she goes, you know what? I don't even want to talk about it. I said, well, I sure don't want to talk about it. And what happens is basically a beautiful day. Well, a perfectly golden day was ruined, and I'm the bad guy because a goat dies on the beach. So it doesn't seem right that I should suffer. In the club, this works much better than in here.
No, you have to understand. It's a podcast, and
it is a
we're
podcast.
Thoroughly enjoying ourselves. But was the goat wet?
The goat was wet. The goat, and by the way, here's the addendum into the never ending. My wife has seen me work many times, and I will tell this story, and it's so unbelievably accurately true. Nothing about it is made up. Not one piece of it is made up. And when I do it, sometimes I tilt a little bit too. I tilt a little bit in my favor, and people start feeling, well, this woman seems crazy. And I go, you seem very justified in being flummoxed by your wife's response. And I realize I have to make sure
tilt
that I
her
don't
way.
Put her, I don't want to throw her under the bus. But she has seen me, and I do this whole bit about, that whenever we get into a real conflict, she'll often say, well, I don't think you get it. You don't get it. And I'll go, no, I get it. I just don't agree with you. She'll say, yeah, because you don't get it. I don't think you understand. It's an unwinnable argument. It's like, no, I get it. Whatever it is we're talking about, I do get it, but I have a different opinion than you. She'll go, yeah, because you don't get it. So when I did the whole bit, and I do the thing on stage, and the audience laughs, and I usually close with it. It's a great bit. My wife will see it, and she'll go, it's great. But you really still don't get it. You don't know why I was upset. I go, no, I swear to God, I really don't. I don't, but the bit is working, so let's leave it.
Were there footprints? Because here's the thing, Paul.
Yeah.
When I saw you do this, tell this story that actually happened in your life, and I'll tell every young comic that may not be listening to this podcast, and maybe you'll agree with me, guys like you and me, 90% of your act has already happened to you. Would you agree with that? Or let's say 70% of your act
90.
has already happened.
Yes.
Things your father used to say, things that happen in a car ride with your sisters, like your whole high school experience. 70% of you don't do like, how do you write? I just go, oh my God, I forgot. My dad made me wrestle in dog shit because I forgot to clean it up. And I'll just talk about that. And now I'm talking like Paul, which is very nice, of course. But when I saw you do the goat story at this theater we were at in Hollywood, I forget what the benefit was. And I apologize if you're listening.
It was.
I had so many more questions. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I want to keep walking.
Yeah.
But
what were your questions?
Were there footprints?
You know, it's.
My first one was with the goat wet.
The goat was wet.
Okay. So,
but anything on a beach is going to be wet, even if it came from the land.
Have you seen people laying out?
Yeah, but a wave will come.
Leathery. So, but you don't know if the goat washed up, or maybe the tide came up, got the goat wet, or had it just rained and got the goat
These
wet.
are good questions.
Maybe somebody came.
Why don't you and my wife
mark
off some time? and hash it out.
If I'm your wife, you're wearing the ring, pal. So it was wet, and Maddie's got goat questions. Were there footprints?
There but there are always footprints because people walking by seeing the goat. So, but
were there goat footprints?
Goat footprints,
not footprints.
Were there goat hoofprints?
There's a hoof. A hoof.
Not that I recall, Your Honor.
So that's even weirder.
How would it get there?
Like this, I thought.
I would assume a hoofprint would wash away.
You were
popular.
I can
send me. I have nowhere to be.
You have nowhere to be.
Where am I going?
You're a happily married man.
You saw how quickly I came back from throwing out my gum across your office. I'm in no hurry. I'll go wherever they need me. Wherever comedy beckons. I'm like the Tom Joad of comedy.
Oh, but not the ghost of Tom Joad. The real
the actual when he was healthy and gaunt,
young spry Tom Joad, the pentathlete.
Yes.
Still happily married?
Yeah, why? What did you hear?
A ring, so you freaked me out.
I don't wear a ring.
I said happily married, and I went, oh no, we're going to have to edit quickly.
Well, you say happily. I mean, I wouldn't say every day is roses. But yes, happily married to a wonderful woman. And I don't wear a ring because a couple of years ago, it just started, my fingers swelled or whatever. And I had a choice. I could either eat less salt, buy a new ring, or just not wear one. And I said, honey, you know we're married, right? Also, I found out, who am I proving it to? And I do a show and a book and everything. My life is about. I'm a lollygagger.
You are. I don't know if you're a lollygagger as much as you just sort of have a nice laconic pace. You're like the Vin Scully of walking.
Only Larry Miller makes me look speedy. Larry is a slow walker. But let's be honest. We're in a lovely office here, and as I was at my desk throwing out my gum, so it's to not mess up your place, I had to walk back to you. How quickly do I need to walk, really? Where are you going?
You must be exhausted. You made that seem like you were taking the Ted Tunnel from Logan Airport to Kowloon. Paul Reiser has stand-up dates July. Hey, listen, Chicago. You guys keep asking me, when are you coming to Chicago? And the answer is I'm not. I'm sending my representative.
Happy to represent the Mohr family.
Paul Reiser is playing Zanies July 5th and 6th in Rosemont, Illinois.
Actually, just the 5th. Just one night.
All right. Scratch that out.
Scratch that.
You might want to talk to your publicist about that.
No.
So the day after 4th of July, it's going to be tough.
Well, we'll see. You know, I've never quite figured out comedy club attendance rules. I remember when I just started, they always would say, they would have a million excuses if it's empty, why is it empty tonight? Well, it's raining and people don't come out in the rain. And then you come in next week and it's gorgeous. And I go, where is everybody? Well, it's so nice people don't want to come indoors. So when exactly would your people show up?
Right.
So it's like July 4th. Well, that means everybody's going to be there or nobody. But it's July 5th, so they can have their thing and then come see a club. But that was the first club that I went to 2 years ago when I started. It was almost 2 years ago when I started doing stand-up again. And that was my first little out-of-town tryout. And it was a beautiful little club.
Zanies in Rosemont?
In Rosemont, which is famous for, it's next to the airport. It's very close. That's what it's famous for. And there's a lot of nice homes there. But you just go in and it's a real comedy club. It's packed and people are right in front of you. The stage is about the size of a quarter. So there's no fooling around. You're right there. You're right there. They're in your face. It is old school. I like it. You
July
can't run
5th,
away.
you're at Zanies in Chicago, but we'll call it Rosemont.
Rosemont, literally the mountain of the rose. There's no mountain, there's no rose. Otherwise, it's just. But there's Delta.
There's Delta,
and there's America.
I think you meant United Hub, and Cleveland at Hilarities, July 25th. Now, is it also the 26th?
That is 2 nights there.
That's what my notes say.
Yes, that is a lovely club in Cleveland. The Hilarities in Cleveland. It's a beautiful, looks like a theater. It's a nice, 500-seat club, which is for a club is nice size.
Yeah, that's big for a club, actually. And I canceled Cleveland 4 years ago, Paul.
Oh, I'll see what I can do.
And they kept saying, and they still, on Twitter, they'll bang away, you owe us a date. When are you coming back? I'm not.
Wow.
Again, I'm sending Paul Reiser in my steed.
And it's so neat, so nice.
You are my rep, a young Roman messenger. You're going by foot. You leave today.
You're a busy man. You have podcasts. You have radio shows. You can't be everywhere they want you. You're too.
Put your name on it. Just put your name on it. That's all I say. Be a man or a woman. Put your name on it.
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
How the fuck you gonna know how to be great if you don't study greatness? Look at the game change.
Donuts.
If you wanna battle, it's either that you will or you won't.
You know, you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Gals.
But you are, Blanche. You are in that chair.
There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us.
Hey, man.
More Stories podcast number 200 and something. Paul Reiser spitting out his gum right now, and I told him I would vamp until his return. I
don't walk that fast either. I'm a slow.